Hi folks, Harry here. Thank you for tuning into this video. This will be a tutorial and playthrough for the improved edition of Fantasy Map Maker. So Fantasy Map Maker is a solo or multiplayer roll and write game, essentially where we are designing our own fantasy map. This is going to take place over a series of rounds where we're going to roll dice and draw features from our feature wheel onto our map, trying to complete scoring objectives from these quests over here as we go. I will be playing a solo game. However, if you have your own copy of the game, you can play against me by following along with the dice results as I roll them. Otherwise, you can just watch to get an understanding of how the game works. So this is a game setup. We have our 2 dice here, my game sheet, and I have chosen 5 quests, 1 from each of the 5 categories over here. I've also written the number of each quest in its space in the quest section of the game sheet. So let's just go through the quests briefly before we start. So we've got the island chain quest, which we're going to get 2 points per separate land mass. So we're going to try to create different islands and areas of land that are separate from one another in our map. And then we have ancient culture, which is going to give us 4 points per landmark in the quadrant with the most landmarks. This is basically us trying to put as many landmarks in a quadrant as possible. So trying to condense those into one area. Next we have scenic way, which is going to give us 1 point per space that has both a road and a forest, stream, river, or lake in it. Then we have lakeside villas, which is going to give us points for the houses in different spaces that have lakes. So it was a bit of a mouthful, but if a space has a lake in it, we can score points if it also has houses in it. Anyway, the last one we have is 2 points per unused feature in our feature wheel, which is up here. So any feature that I don't use at the end, I'm going to get 2 points for. So we're going to try to use up the features we want and also try to leave some unused to earn points for this quest. So those are the quests, and they will make more sense as I'm showing you how the different features work throughout the game. And we're also going to play some events. Now, when you play Fantasy Map Maker, you don't need to use events. But if you do want to use events, you can use up to 6, and you can use any combination of them. You can't use the same event twice, but in this event, I'm going to use a full 6, and I'm going to use G through to L, and I've just written those here, but you can put them in any different order. I think that's pretty much it. As part of the improved edition, there will be a couple of minor changes to the game from past editions. One of them is we do have a revised solo mode, which is pretty straightforward, but I'll just show you how to score that at the end if you're interested in that. And finally, the landmarks will be a bit different. I'll show you how they work as well. And the events, of course, I'll show you how that work. They work as they come up. But basically, though, they will get triggered if there's doubles of these numbers here. Then we'll pick out an event card and try to keep its scoring condition in mind. Alrighty, so let's get started. So we always start by rolling these 2 dice. And then the numbers are going to tell us where our first landmark here is going to go. So we've got a 3 and a 5. So we just start always by just writing this in here. And by the way, if this is a double number, it would not trigger an event. So the first roll is immune from triggering an event. So 3 and 5, this means that I can put a landmark either here in the 3rd column and 5th row, or over here in the 3rd row and 5th column. Doesn't really matter at this point in time. The thing that does matter though is considering which landmark we want to choose. And I'll briefly run you by those. So we're going to have our castles, which will equal 3 houses during scoring. We're going to have ships, which allow us to explore any area. Allow us to place a feature in any area of the map, whereas typically we would need to have a feature in a space to be able to put another feature in that space. Again, that'll make more sense as we go. So those are persistent abilities throughout the whole game. Then we have these one-time ability landmarks, such as the keep, which is going to let us ignore a dice result, so we can just skip that round. A mine, which will allow us to add 2 points to two value, I should say, to a die. Ruins. One thing with mines, they do need to be on a mountainside by the end of the game. Next, we have our ruins, which are going to let us rearrange the sum of the dice and redistribute those. So if we roll a 3 and a 4, for example, that could become a 5 and a 2. And then we have a temple, which is going to allow us to add or subtract 1 from a die result. I think we will just start with castle. So to begin, we'll put a C for castle here. And then in either of these spaces, we draw the castle. Alrighty, so there's my castle. All right, so our next result was a 3 and a 6. This means that we have to use one of these numbers for the wedge and the other one for an available feature within that wedge. So it's the start of the game, so the only available features are the ones connected to a previously completed feature. So that's going to mean that in this case, we can only take a road or a river. Now, and if we choose the road, we would write, that's the 6th wedge, so we'd write the 3 there. If we choose a river, that's the 3rd wedge, so we'd write the 6 there. So you just have to choose one number for the wedge and the other number for the feature. So I think we will actually go with the road in this case. And let's do a 3. And the way roads work, they are a long feature, meaning they cross over the lines of the grid the number of times that is written here. So in this case, 3 road is going to cross over these grid lines 3 times. And we have to start, at least have part of our feature in an explored space. So we do have to start from here. So I think we'll go down here. All right, so here's my road, and you can see it crosses over the grid 1, 2, 3 times. 1 and 6. So in this case, I can put a 6 in the available one feature. So in this case, I can put a 6 in the one wedge, but I'd have to put it in this feature here, mountains, which would mean I'm going to have 6 mountains, which is going to take up a lot of our map and doesn't really benefit our current scoring objectives. Or I could put a 1 in either of these available features here. And I think I want to do that, and I want to do 1 forest. Now, forests and mountains work the same. They are large features, and we need to put the number of them across connected intersections. Because it's only 1 intersection, that just means we just need to take 1 intersection, for example here, and draw our forest. Okay, so here's our forest. Now, if the number was 2, then we would have to connect these 2 up, for example. We could not separate them. We could not have 1 here and 1 here if we did 2. But obviously it wasn't 2. All right, so that is our forest. Next is a 6 and 6. Okay, so this will be an event. And in this case, it'll be event L. So let's read this event and have a look what it is. So the troll toll, draw a monster in a land area within a space. Lose 5 points if the space does not have a river or rivers. Lose 1 point per house in the same space as the river or rivers in the monster's space. And again, this only applies to houses. It doesn't apply to castles, even though a castle counts as 3 houses. All right, so basically what we need to do at the end is we want to create a space that has a monster in it and a river running through it, and we don't want to have any houses connected to that river. Now, one thing with events, along with landmarks, is they do not need to be in explored spaces. So with that in mind, I don't need to put it anywhere here. I can put it in another area of the map. Just need to remember to make sure I do add a river to it at some point. So I think I will go ahead and put it in a corner of the map and hope that I can add a river to it later. Right, there's my troll. And I'm going to, after I've finished that, I will put a check mark here because that will be important during our solo scoring. And it also reminds me that this doubles number, double sixes is not going to trigger an event again. Alrighty, let's see the next roll. 4 and 5, so I can choose either of these wedges. And I think we'll go with coastline. And again, with coastlines, which are long features, we have to cross over this many times. So 4 times. And what we can do in this case is we can actually, we could do, let's do this. We could cross over 4 times here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we could actually make a little island here. Just thinking if that makes sense. You know what? Let's take a risk. Let's do that. So I'm going to cross over 4 times here. I'm going to make an island. And the reason I am doing this is I'm thinking about this quest here, the island chain, and how we'll get 2 points per separated landmass. Okay, so that's our coastline. Let's see what's next. All right, 3 and 4. All right, so I'm thinking about our troll from before, and I'm thinking about how we need to make sure that he has a river in his space. So let's go ahead and add a river. So it's 3 and 4. And rivers are the same as roads and coastlines. Another long feature, we're going to have it touch, or cross over, I should say, 4 times. And this includes the edge of the map as well, by the way. So I think what we can do is we might even have the river start and end at the edge of the map. All right, let's see the next round. 2 and 4. Okay, so here's my 4 coastline. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, 2 and 2. Wow, that's going to be another event. By the way, I could skip. One thing you can do is you can skip events. So if I really didn't want to do this event, I could put a cross through it, but that would result in -5 points at the end of the game when I score. So I don't want to do that. And let's go ahead and do this event, which is event H, the Giant's Domain. So I'm definitely going to do it. So I'm going to put a check mark here before I forget. So Giant's Domain, draw a monster in a land area within a space. Lose 5 points if the space does not have forest in it. Lose 1 point per house in the same quadrant as the monster. Wow, okay, so one thing with events is we cannot put 2 event features within the same space. So I could not put the giant here in the same space as the troll from before, but I can put it somewhere else around here. And I just need to remember to also add a forest somewhere to that space, and also make sure I don't have any houses in that quadrant. I could put the giant here, for example, because it's already forest in that space. However, that means that I also need to remember not to put any houses here. So I think I won't do that, and I think I'll chuck him down here and hope that I can add forest later to this area. Alrighty, so here is my giant. Again, I need to make sure that I can add forest here, otherwise I'm going to lose 5 points anyway, and so not skipping the event would have been a mistake. Alright, let's continue. 2 and 2 again. Oh, that didn't roll very well. Alright, well, let's go with it though. So, in this case, let's do another river. Alright, next. 2 and 3. Okay, I think I will, I think I'll go with 2 mountains. And let's have the mountains. One thing you can do with these large features, mountains and forests, is you can have them overlapping the intersections at the edge of the map. So the actual corners and edge of the map. So I think I might do that because mountains aren't really going to help us this much, well, at all really, with these quests. So I think it's totally fine to kind of put them out of harm's way. On the other hand, I do like the idea that this maybe there's a divide between these 2 monsters, but no, I'll save that area for the forest. So let's add a mountain here and here. So these mountains, all right, so these mountains are crossing over these 2 intersections here, hence the number 2. All right, 6 and 5. So let's continue work on our coastlines. Let's choose the 6 wedge and let's add a 5 here. And let's try to end this and create a separate land mass for this kind of monster-ridden area. Down here, we're going to need to cross over 5 times. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, the edge of the map is considered one crossing. There we go. All right, 5 and 6 again. All right, I'm not sure if I'm rolling those properly, but let's go with it. All right, so again, I could choose, got a few options here. As the game's progressing, more features will become available. But what I really want to do is I want to start adding more landmarks as often as I can. And I think now is a good chance to do that. So the way landmarks work after the first landmark is when you choose a landmark space, of course, write the number assigned to it. So in this case, it is a 5. And then to determine the second number, which is going to be the coordinates, which together with the first is going to make up the coordinates, we're going to roll the dice again and choose one and ignore the other. All right, so I could do 5 and 4 or 5 and 1. 5 and 4 would put me either here or here. And 5 and 1 would put me either here or here. Now, if we remember our ancient culture quest, we're going to get 4 points per landmark in the quadrant with the most landmarks, meaning if we put it here, that's going to also combine with this castle and we're going to earn more points for this quest. So I think we'll do that. So we'll choose the 1 and then we'll choose a landmark. And I think let's go with a one-time landmark ability and let's go with the temple. So I can just write a T for temple and I can draw a temple here. Now, obviously at this stage, it kind of looks like this area of the map should be ocean. That is okay. If the game were to end now, this would be considered a map mistake and I'd lose a point. However, you can have mistakes during the map as long as they're corrected by the end of the game. Otherwise, you just lose points for the amount it would take you to actually fix the mistake. All right, so there's my temple. Now, this is just a reminder, this is a one-time ability I can use from now to change one of the die results to by either subtracting or adding 1 to that die result, which would potentially help us avoid an event. Again, avoiding is different. Just skipping just means we cross it off and we don't do that event and we lose 5 points. Avoiding it just means we stop it from triggering by changing 2 doubles numbers to by changing one of the numbers, yeah. Alrighty, so that's the temple. Let's move on. 5 and 5. All right, so this is another event, and this is K, which is the Necromancer's Eye. All right, so this is, I'm going to draw a spire and a space, And then we're going to lose 4 points per landmark that is in the same row or column as the spire. So with that in mind, obviously it wouldn't be good to draw it. We're not going to want to draw it in this 5th column, because we would lose 8 points just for doing that. And we wouldn't want to put it in the 1st or 3rd row right now. In fact, we want to avoid this whole quadrant together because of our ancient culture quest, where we're going to get points for landmarks in this area. We also can't put it in either of these spaces because there are already event features in there. One other thing with events that I didn't mention earlier is that adding events or landmarks basically explores a space, and you can add events or landmarks in unexplored spaces. Maybe I did mention that, but anyway, I'm reminding you that that's the rule. So I actually think I might try to be cheeky and put it in this space here, so then this area would kind of be explored. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do that and just hope that I don't add a landmark to either of these rows or columns. All right, so there's my spire. All right, next. All right, 5 and 2. So I can chuck a 2 somewhere in here, or I can chuck a 5 somewhere in here. I think at this point it's time to show you how houses work. So let's add 5 houses. And houses are small features. With small features, we have to put them within spaces, but we can spread them out into different explored spaces. So I could put 3 in this space and 2 in this space, or I could put 1 each in different spaces. That is totally okay. Now, remember, we have a couple of events in play that are going to affect house placement negatively. We're not going to want to put any houses in this quadrant because of this event and this monster, and we're not going to want to put any houses in either of these spaces due to this guy as well. And we also are thinking about earning points for spaces that contain lakes and houses. So there's a bit to think about, but I think in this case I will maybe put I'll put 4 in the same space as the castle, because remember the castle counts as 3 houses, and that'll give us 5 points if we can also add a lake to it. And then I'll put 1 more somewhere else. So let's go ahead and do that. Maybe here. Alrighty. 6 and 1. Alright, so I've rolled 6 and 1, and at this point I think I want to use this temple ability to alter the 1. I can't subtract 1 because that would be 0 and that doesn't exist on a 6-sided dice, but I can add 1 to it to have 2 and 6, and I think that would be good because then I'll be able to do 6 roads here. And so let's go ahead and do that. So if I put 6 here, and I'm thinking about this scenic way, which is going to give, this quest is going to give us 1 point per space that has both a road and a forest, stream, river, or lake. So some of these spaces with the events already have rivers in them. So what I would like to do is start a road from maybe, maybe even start it from here. And in general, features cannot overlap one another in the game. However, one exception to that rule is roads can overlap rivers and vice versa. So when that happens, you can just draw a bridge, or you can draw a ford to show that the river has been crossed by a road. All right, and there is my road. Now, even though this is a bit odd right now, the road starts from kind of nothing and ends in the middle of nowhere. That is okay. That's not considered a map mistake. Map mistakes are things that just don't really make any sense. Like this spire is currently basically in the ocean. So if I don't fix that by the end of the game, that will be a mistake. Yeah. Alrighty, let's keep going. 6 and 5. Alright, so let's do 6 houses. Alright, so I decided to mix up the placement of those 6 houses. I put 2 in this space, 3 in this space, and 1 in this space. Let's see what's next. 1 and 3. I think I really need to start getting into this wedge in particular, because this is the wedge that has the island in it, which is going to potentially give us points for our island chain quest. So I think this is going to be really important to do. So let's go for 3 mountains. And again, this is a large feature, so it has to overlap the intersections of the map. And the edge does count, so I think we'll do maybe 3, 1, 2, 3 at the edge of the map. Alrighty. Six and 5. Alright, I think we'll go with 5 houses. So again, we're really starting to fill out this 6th wedge and also the 2nd wedge quite a bit. So we do need to be careful, because the game will end once we roll the dice and we can't do anything with the results. So if we fill out the 6th wedge, that's okay. The game doesn't end there. But if we fill in the 2nd and 6th, for example, we roll a 2 and a 6 and we can't change those, then that would be the end of the game. So just need to be mindful of that. But we also remember that we do get 2 points for every unused feature as part of this quest. So we don't want to try to fill in everything at the same time. So it's a bit of a balancing act that we're doing there. Anyway, 5 houses. I think I will spread those out again. All right. All right, let's get back into making some coasts. No, actually, so 1 and 5. Let's do another mountain, and let's just assign a 1 to it, and this will mean that we'll be closer to accessing this lake, which is going to help us with our towns quest. So let's add the mountain somewhere. And in this case, it was just a 1, so I only need to cross over 1 intersection, so I've gone here. One and 4. So with a 1 and 4, I can use a 4 on this coastline, and I can do what I did here, but with this spire area. And let's cross over 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Alright, so right now, when it comes to our island chain quest, where we get 2 points per separate landmass, we have 3 separate landmasses, 1, 2, 3, so we would be getting 6 points. So we want to keep adding to that, and being able to create these islands is going to give us a lot of points there too. 4 and 1. Okay. Alright, so let's choose a forest. Let's add 1 forest. And let's add the forest. Oh, now we remember we have to add a forest to the space that has the giant in it. So I think we should add it somewhere here, and that will also give us some points for our Scenic Way quest. So I want to put the forest, it only needs to cross over 1 intersection because it's just the number 1. I want to put it here, but I've noticed that I haven't left myself much room here. In the game, in this instance, it's totally okay to make these mid-game adjustments to just the way you've drawn something to give yourself a little bit more space, as long as you're not changing where you've actually drawn it, like how many lines you've crossed or which lines you've crossed. That is okay. So I can make a change like that to just give myself some more space, but I couldn't obviously just totally change, delete it, or erase it, or move it somewhere else. But little minor adjustments like that are okay. All right, now I'll place my forest here. And within the rules, there is a lot of flexibility to how you draw things. So although I just had to cross over this intersection, it doesn't need to be perfectly surrounding it like this one kind of was. I can kind of take some creative liberties and go up here a little bit to make the forest look a bit more organic or something like that. So that's that. 4 and 5. And 3. Okay. By the way, if you're going to play along with this game, and you didn't choose a landmark for a space like this, then you would just use the next roll for whatever you want. So, choosing a landmark does take 2 turns. So if you're playing simultaneously with other people, while you place a landmark, other players might be placing 2 other features. Yeah. Another thing to keep in mind is if on this second roll I roll, for example, a double 1, double 3, or double 4, that does not trigger an event. So you are immune from events when rolling for the second coordinate of your landmark. All right, let's see what I got. 5 and 3. So that's actually good. 5 and 3, and that could be here, or it could be here, or it could be here. Now, obviously, I do want to put it here because that will help our ancient culture quest, and landmarks can be in the same space. That is totally okay. A castle won't make much sense because I already have 7 houses. Basically, the castle equaling 3 plus my 4 houses for this quest. So castle wouldn't make any sense. I could put a ship in on the coast, and that will allow me to freely explore some spaces. Or, oh, and I just remembered, I used this ability earlier and I didn't put a check mark next to it. Sorry about that. So I did use that ability already. All right, now, but getting back to this, I think we will go. Oh, another thing, a mine wouldn't make any sense because a mine has to be on a mountain, and all my mountains are down here. So I will lose points I would lose 1 point if I put a mine. And I think what I'll do is I'll do a keep, because that might be good to have the ability to just skip around or ignore the dice results for one round. So I think I'll do a keep. Five and five. Okay, so when this happens, when you roll doubles and it did have an event, but that's already been triggered, then it's just a regular roll, so not going to trigger that event again. So I've got a couple of options. I can put it in any of these three spaces. I kind of do need the lakes, so I think I'm going to hope. No, let's go with the lake. Let's be safe. So I'm going to do 5 lakes. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the lakes in these spaces where I've added my houses. So that would mean I've got one here. And I've got one here. Again, you can always make minor changes to this to make it look a little nicer, or to give yourself a little bit more space, because if you drew something a little bit too big or too small. There we go, so that's 2. Need one up here as well. So 1, 2, 3. And let's have one here. We can do this one a bit bigger, got a bit more space. Again, lakes are small features, they just need to fit within the space. You can change the size of each lake, that is okay. It can be a bit uneven. You can even do put 2 lakes in the same space, that's okay too. Wouldn't really add it. There would be no value score-wise to do that, but you can do that. All right, so that's lakes. 2 and 1. All right. I think I would like to could do a 1 forest or 1 stream. Over here I could do 2. Now 2 would not be good, because if I did 2 in this space to make the landmark in either of these columns or rows, that would mean I would actually lose points due to this event that's in play. So that wouldn't be great. Islands wouldn't be great either, because I want to get a big number for islands. So I think what we'll do is we'll just do a stream, and it's just going to be 1. The way streams work, they are small features that either start rivers or branch off other bodies of water. And these rivers are actually coming from the edge of the map, so I don't need to worry about those rivers. So I think in this case, I'll just do a little stream here that is feeding into this lake at the bottom of the map. Okay. 1 and 6. Okay. All right. Now, in this case, I have a few good options here. I could do 6 houses, which I could start to score more points for the towns quest. I could do 6 islands, which would be great for this quest. But the issue with islands is they can only be in explored spaces. So that would be, I basically want to save that. And what I want to do is I want to do a ship landmark, so that'll allow me to put these islands in any unexplored space. So with the first roll, I choose a 6, and then I've got 5 or 6. Sorry, 5 or 5. All All right, so I rolled a 5 and a 5, and initially I was going to just choose the 6 and a 5, but I've decided that I'm going to enact this keep ability, and I'm going to skip this roll and roll again. And I hope I get a, all right, 6 and 6. All right, so that's not really any better. I could do 6 and 2 here or 6 and 2 here, but that's going to make me lose 4 points for this landmark, so I don't want that. So I'm going to go 6 and 6. I think I'll go with the ruins. So then I can maybe manipulate a dice result in the future. Two and one. All right, so because I want bigger numbers for these two features, the house, this house and this island, I think I will use the 2. I'll place the 2 in this names, and I need to give, I need to apply 2 names to anything on the map. Names are very flexible. You can even place names in unexplored areas. However, doing so does not make that area explored. So I could draw it, I could write a name here, and that's totally fine. So names, you can really do anything you want because names do not affect any of the scoring, aside from the wheel quests. All right, so maybe we can call this. Oh, one other thing with names is if you're not sure, if you can't really think of a name, nothing's coming to you just from looking at your map, you can get some inspiration by looking at the border, which has some kind of words that might help you think of different names for the features in your and points of interest in your map. So I might call this. I like calling this the Cursed Coast because there are so many monsters and weird things happening in this area. It's the Cursed Coast, and maybe up here we have the Dark Tower. You could always change this later if you think of something a bit more original. Yeah, all right, let's see what's next. 6 and 1. All right. So I don't want to limit myself by keeping on. If I do the 1 here, then this is going to be finished, and then it's going to be almost the end of the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this ruins ability, and I'm going to change the 6 and the 1 to 2 dice numbers that equal 7. So 6 and 1 equals 7. So I can change the actual distribution of the value. So what I really want to do is start adding more coast, and I also want to add a bit more forest. So, but also this would be good, adding another landmark. But if I do that, that's going to be 3. Yeah, all right, let's do that. So I think I'm going to make it a 4 and a 3. I'm going to place the 3 here. Roll again for the second roll. Let's try that again. Roll again. 3 and 3. All right, so I could put this 3 and 3 here, or 3 and 6 here, which would be good because that's going to help this quest. So let's go 3 and 6. And this time I am going to do the ship, and I probably should have done this earlier on in the game, but that's okay. So I draw a ship here. And now I can draw in any space for any feature because of the persistent effect of this ship. If you were to do 2 ships, there would be no added value of doing that second ship. Yeah. All right, so that's ships. And let's see what's next. All right, so in this case, in the last roll, in the last turn, all right, so in the last turn, I added a 4 river here, which crossed over 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And the reason I did this here, it does look a bit weird, is I was thinking about this quest here where we get points for spaces that have roads and these nature features, one of these nature features, forests, streams, rivers, or lakes. Now, in doing that, I've actually finished this 5th wedge. So when I do that, I can color that in. This is not the end of the game, but it does mean that if I were to roll double 5s, for example, and I couldn't change them in any way, I would need to. That would be the end of the game. So we're getting closer to the end now. 4 and 5. Five and 1. Okay, now it is time to do an island. 5 islands actually. So islands are small features that we're going to place within spaces, and that's going to be really helpful for this quest. And usually I could not put an island here, for example, because this is not explored, but because we have the ship, we can put islands wherever we want. So let's do a bigger one here. One and 1. Oh, okay. 1 and 1. So we're going to trigger another event. And this is the Great Rift. And okay. So this is draw a chasm along 6 connected land spaces. The line must be continuous, but any shape of spaces is okay. So in this case, and no features can cross the chasm. So in this case, I think ideally I would have saved up one of these one-time abilities to try to avoid this event, because this is going to be difficult or perhaps impossible to do. Yeah, so in this case, I do not want to do the event, so I'm actually going to skip the event, even though it's going to cost me 5 points. I don't think I can do it on this map anyway. I don't have space because I've really limited how much land area I have, so I can't do it. So I'm just going to have to cross that off. Again, if I had have held off on some of these short one-time abilities, I would have been able to avoid it, but unfortunately I didn't. But it's not the end of the world if you do have to skip an event, because particularly if you're playing solo mode, the AI opponents also, they lose points when events come up. So even if you're losing points, it's not the end of the world. So that is that. Let's see what's next. Okay. Oh. 1 and 6. Okay, nice. Okay, 3 and 4. Have to put a 4 here. Have to finish that. Okay. Three. Okay, and I think here I will use this 3 for the forest. Just a reminder, forests and mountains large features can cross over the map edge. So I think we'll do forest and map edge like this. Okay. Four and six. So I can't go here. I really have to do 4 names. And I've actually I've ended up filling in all of the features. So I'll go ahead and do the 4 names, and then I'll talk about the end of the game, because that's the end of the game. So because I could always do everything until I filled in all of the wedges, that just is the end of the game. Unfortunately, it's pretty bad for this quest, which I didn't really successfully manipulate the dice results enough to avoid getting 0 points for this, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and add these names, and then I'll calculate the score in a moment. All right, so this is the end of the game. Let's go ahead and jump to scoring. So I'll start with our geology quest for 2 points per separate landmass. We had, I think we had 10 landmasses. We had these small islands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these larger landmasses, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you actually get the full 20 points. And when it comes to quest scoring, the maximum we can get for any one quest is 20 points. So we're able to max that one out, which is nice. Then we have Ancient Culture, 4 points per landmark in the quadrant with the most landmarks. That's obviously going to be this quadrant here, where we had the temple, the castle, the keep, and the ship. We couldn't put the ruins in that landmark, so we don't get points for that, but we do get 4 times 4, so 16. Next we have our nature quest, which was 1 point per space that has both a road and a forest, stream, river, or lake. So the easiest way to calculate these is just to look at each space row by row and just count them as we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so we just got there with our 20 points. Next we have our towns quest, which is spaces containing lakes and points based on how many houses they contain. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces with lakes, and they had 5 houses, so that would earn 4 points. 5 houses, 4 points again. 7 houses, so remember a castle counts as 3, so that would be 5 points. So now we're up to 13, 4, 4, and 5. Then we have another 5, so that's another 4, so that's 17. And then we have 3, which is 20. So we're doing really well so far, but this is when the wheels come off, because with our wheel quests, speaking of wheels, we were to earn 2 points per unused feature in the wheel. Now the way things panned out is I didn't focus on one particular wedge, and in the end, it did all of them evenly and didn't used up all the features, and so it actually gets 0 for that whole quest. There is a separate quest where you actually get points for completing wedges, so that we would have did really well with that, but unfortunately 0 for that. And unfortunately, we lose 5 points for skipping this event G, and we lose points for anything else. So what we should always check is the check for map mistakes. I don't believe there are any map mistakes here, so there's no minus points for map mistakes, but we do need to check the events. So this one we skipped, so we know that's -5. H, we lose 5 points if the space does not have forest and are there any houses in the same quadrant, so we're safe with that one. K first. We lose 4 points per landmark. Is in the same row column as a spy, so this is in column and row 2. There are no landmarks, so safe from that one. And then the troll toll, we lose 5 points if the space does not have a river, so safe, and 1 point per house in the same space as the river or rivers in the monster space, and there are obviously no houses there, so we're safe with that, but we do lose that 5 for the Great Rift because we couldn't really avoid that. So that's going to be -5. All right, so if we calculate that, we're going to get 76 -5, so 71 as a total, which isn't bad. So if you were playing yourself, you could see how you went against me. If it was a tie, then the player who had the least point deductions would be the winner. So if we were playing together and you had 71 as well, but unlike me, you only had -2, for example, then you would be the winner. Now, if I was playing by myself, then we would look at solo mode scoring. And the way that works is in solo mode, I am playing against 3 opponents, each representing an increased level of difficulty. And I'm going to see how I can go against each of them. So the first one is the Explorer, then we have the Artist, and then finally the Master is going to have the best score. So to calculate their scores, you just look at the numbers at the bottom of the quest cards and add those up. So I'll go ahead and do that for the Explorer. They'd have 13, so 27, 41, 55, 63. However, the AI opponents in our solo mode also lose points for the events that we have resolved. So in this case, I and J, these didn't come up. So the opponent doesn't lose any points for those. However, they do lose points for G, even though that was skipped, H, K, and L. And for each event, the Explorer loses 3 points. And so they're going to lose 12 points. Yeah, so they had 63 minus 12. So they ended up with a score of 51. The Artist is actually going to be, you don't have to go through and add up all of them for the Artist and the Master. The Artist is always going to be an extra 10 points, plus 1 for each event that was triggered, meaning there are 4 events triggered, so the Artist is going to be plus 14. So that means they earned 65, and the Master is going to be plus 14 more than the Artist, so that means that they earned 79. So we actually did pretty well in the end, even though we did so pretty poorly on this last quest. It does mean that we still were able to beat 2 of the AI opponents, but not the Master. And that's how the game works. So again, thank you for checking this video out, and thanks to all the Kickstarter backers who have supported the production of the improved edition. It really wouldn't have happened without your support, so I really appreciate that. I hope you found this interesting, and I will go ahead and add some touch-ups to this map and then show you the results of that. I do also have a Fantasy Mapmaker map pack, which will feature maps such as this one, not in this state, but in the touched up state. So if you are playing the game and want some inspiration, you can check out that map pack to maybe get some ideas about how to draw certain things. But other than that, thanks for checking out this video, and I will catch you soon.